Today on Nerd and Normal, we're wearing red as we discuss how AI might make you see red or not as it advances into our lives and our technology.
Welcome to Nerd and Normal with Matthew and Gareth, opening your mind to the world of technology. So let's get started.
Matthew, we've got to stop arranging our wardrobes to suit each other for these videos. You're in one part of Australia and I'm in another part of Australia. So red seems to be the order of the day. Interesting thing about red and its connection to AI. When I was at school many years ago, every Friday, someone from Gideon Bibles would come along and talk to the class. Now, the lady who came to my school was an interesting lady. She'd always start by holding up the little Gideon Bible she was going to give everybody, and she said, "See, boys and girls, it is red. You know why it's red? No, miss, why is it red? Because it's red to be read." So that was her way of getting into reading. And if we use AI for everything, we will stop being able and creative enough to write for someone else to read. And red will just cover the world and it will disappear into the AI tunnel. Oh, Matthew, woe is me.
You know what's really bad? I think in that bookshelf behind me is one of those little Gideon Bibles. Somewhere in there.
I still have mine. And I have read it.
I might have, I might not have. I say no more than that.
This isn't a confession. Look, with AI in mind, two things that really do genuinely worry me. Not in the order of worry. The first one I read, and I cut them out, both stories in the Australian on different days. The New South Wales government is about to give the ACCC access to all of its data for the ACCC to be able to do things and prosecute people and check things, etc. All of their data. Now, that in my head raises the issue, that's going to make hackers see the ACCC as a potential thing for them to hack. First thing that worries me. Second thing that worries me, more importantly, given that I do teach, and I do teach English literature, Thomas Keneally, who wrote Chant of Jimmy Blacksmith, and Anne Funder, who wrote, among other things, Stasi-Land, All That I Am, and Wifedom, etc. All of her products, all of her books have been put online, all of them. So that means someone could come along and access, please write me a novel similar to Anna Funder or Thomas Keneally. That surely has to be one of the big downsides of AI, Matthew.
I think it is, and the problem is, as long as the AI database makers have paid for one copy of that person's book, they can legally actually put it into their database and have it do whatever they want to try and do with it. To the point where over in the US, Anthropic, who's an AI database creator, has just been sued $1.5 billion to train their AI with books, not because they've done it, because they're paying the authors, it's because they illegally downloaded the books to train their AI. That's, I think, the biggest concern also, because even if an author were to say, no, I don't want my book to be in your database, these companies just get there and pirate the books and put them in there anyway. And it then means that, that entire way the person, because every author's different. Dr. Seuss is different to really anybody else for good reason. And you can ask the AI to write a story as if they're a certain author, and it will try. It won't be able to get exactly right, and nor will it be to the same extent of length that an author can do, but it can get the sort of crux of the author's way of doing things across.
It might not be able to rewrite Tolstoy, War and Peace, many hundreds and hundreds of pages. It might not be able at the moment to write the complete thing. That doesn't mean it's not going to be able to do it tomorrow, which again is one of the bugbears for me about AI diminishing creativity and making a writer redundant or a composer redundant. You have asked AI, I know you have asked AI to write a piece of music that is similar to Doctor Who.
This intro we have, it's literally from
intro.
AI.
So You know, that's
It's a worry. They the old motto, the old saying of you can put 1,000 monkeys in a room, give them a fair few years, and they'll rewrite the entire works of Shakespeare. Is now you give a computer a prompt and it writes the entire works of Shakespeare in about 10 seconds. Is a possibility because the database has all the information in there. But will it be the same? Will it have the personality of the works of Shakespeare? That's what it comes down to.
would it be fair enough to say, to make the comparison, Encyclopedia Britannica was the first AI?
I don't think it... Really, it can't. Because AI, the first AI would have to be any basic repetitive task being done by something which is not human. You think of... Remember the nodding bird goes up and down into the glass of water pretending it's drinking. That's pretty much how AI works. It's created, it has a set function, and it does that function over and over and over again. That's all AI does.
But Encyclopedia Britannica, the words were put together by a human and put down on print, and then it was run through a printer, and the printer produced thousands of copies.
Yes.
Isn't that what AI has done? You've put the data in, and then you're accessing the data by asking it to do something based on the data you already have. Because if it's not in the data, it can't do it.
No, it can. It actually, there's been AI over in the US and also here in Australia. It's actually being used by solicitors, lawyers, to create precedents that they can take to court to try and get their clients off. And they've been fictional precedents. They haven't actually been court cases at all. So it's not just factual things it's creating fictional things as well, pretending to be factual. Which Britannica, for as good as it was, wasn't always perfect, but at least it was fact-checked. AI is not.
So does that create the need for a more rigid set of controls on AI in every form?
Without a doubt. And it's one thing that I think we as a population are unfortunately falling behind with, because people are using AI thinking that it's the be-all and end-all, the perfect way of doing things, and it's not. Take, for example, your current paid position as a radio announcer. In theory, you can't be replaced by AI because you have, some say, personality. That can't be...
That's a big risk there, but anyway, I take your point. Go on.
That can't be duplicated by AI. No matter how much you try and say to the AI, be happy, be sad, be enjoying yourself, it can't do it. It just can't get the nuances that a human can do.
Just stop. But if I ask ChatGPT to write a sad sympathy card, it will do it. Write a happy birthday card, it will do it. That's the same thing. It's just doing it in print.
Yes, but the problem is the human voice is nuanced, and that's one thing it can't do at all, is the nuance. And again, it goes back to sort of the tease you had last week with the episode. It can't do the whole first person. It can't nuance that into itself. And that's where AI really falls down. To create the intro bed that we have, it took, I think, about 20 goes to get it anywhere close to what we have that's reasonable.
No, it took 20 goes to get it close to what we liked, rather than... Isn't that... I mean, I'm being serious. Isn't that a fact? Yes, it'll produce... The very first one, make it like Doctor Who, without being Doctor Who, because then you've got a copyright problem. Okay, it did it, but you didn't like that one.
That's right.
The second one I didn't like, and the third one we both liked. So it was doing it, but our likes and dislikes came into it.
Exactly right, and that's where humans, you could talk to a human who's creating their own music, and you can talk to them and explain to them what you want, and they can sort of understand where you're coming from. Where AI doesn't have that. It's just you give it a few basic prompts, and it has to create what it's going to create out of those prompts.
But if you've kept on drumming into my normal head the importance of a database, if with voice replacing me on air, if the database is sufficiently large, in other words, it's taken all the air checks and all the things from log-up tapes and all the ads that I've done, put all of those into the database, and you ask it to recreate me explaining something about a song, well, won't it access all of those voices and give you me when it's not me?
It should, but it can't. As a test, what I was doing for the last few months is testing. I've given AI a massive amount of samples of my voice, doing a whole range of different things. And we all know that when you're finishing a sentence, your inflection goes down. When you're asking a question, your inflection goes up. AI doesn't understand that. You can put all the punctuation you want into an AI service with the person actually using those exact words you're putting at the end of a sentence. It doesn't get the inflections right. I have tried numerous times. It's getting close, but it's nowhere near there yet.
But you led me to believe that there are a number of podcasts, and please, these two men in red aren't. We are real. We are actually sitting here. I pinch myself.
We chose both to wear red.
Yeah, we both different in different frames.
Yeah, the fact there are multiple podcasts that are literally thousands of podcasts
done by AI.
Not just that, but the CADA radio station in Sydney during the workday is hosted by an AI. It's not actually an announcer in the studio at all. It's an AI person doing that radio program. And CADA's been doing that now for about 2 years. Because
isn't that replacing the person?
It is, but it's not personable. And that's the difference. You look at, say, yourself when you're doing your show, and you look at us talking now. We actually show emotions. We actually can get there and be doing things on the fly. Where an AI, even the AI podcasts, they're programmed in with things, and their facts aren't always correct. And they can't sort of fact check themselves while they're talking and stop and thinking, is this the right word to say?
But the facts we're initiating are not necessarily always correct.
Dead right. It's one of those things that it's hard for humans, but at least we can stop and pause and think. AI doesn't. It's literally programmed to say certain things, and it will say those certain things without pause and thought.
Okay, so therefore, would I be right in assuming one of the weaknesses at the moment of AI is it lacks an understanding of what humanity is. 1, 2, it depends totally on the data you put into it, and if you don't put, or you can't put, humor, sadness, emotion into it, so those two things will always be a negative for AI in 2025 or 2026.
I think it's going to be the case for quite some time to come. I can't see Skynet quite taking over yet. For me, when you listen to these podcasts that are AI created, they're AI scripted, using a database as being created. There's not even a human typing the script for the AI to record for the podcast. So it's completely separate from any human emotion, any human fact-checking, anything. It relies purely on the database of the information that's been given, relies on the database of the voice to be used, and at the end of the day, with both of those two things, there's no humanity there at all. It's all computer.
And I've mentioned this in a couple of previous podcasts, the importance with the human spirit of creativity or critical thinking. And I would add to that intuition. It would seem to me that AI at the moment is another one of its weaknesses. It lacks intuition. It lacks creativity. It can only give you what you've put into it, which is a limited resource.
Yeah.
Comment?
If the database it's been given is limited on, say, facts on World War II, and you're purely looking at, say, the Allied side of the facts of World War II, it's missing the ability to think, well, why did Germany and the Axis do things? It doesn't have that context, doesn't have that intuition to say, well, there's two sides to every argument. It says, this is what happened, this is why it happened, and this was the end result. And again, that's AI. The data is being given isn't enough data to actually create valid responses to answer questions properly.
So would AI's algorithm inherit our prejudices, what we put into the database? So, for example, you've mentioned World War II. If you stacked the database with justifications for Nazi Germany's attack on X, and then it would give you a justification of Nazi Germany's attack on X, which historically, some would argue, are wrong, but then are they?
Yeah.
Because again, you're putting the data in, you're putting your prejudices into that database, and all AI can do is spit out your prejudice.
Exactly right. And that's where the issue comes down to. The owners of the AI databases are the ones that create the answers to the questions that are being asked of them. And the person asked the question doesn't know what the prejudices are of the creators. They're hoping that that's all going to be factual and no bias, but unfortunately, I can't see it ever being the case.
Henry Ford would have argued that the way he made Fords, replacing people, having an assembly line that was automated, replaced people's jobs, and that was the big issue of the time. Are we in a situation of repeating what Henry Ford did with AI, that it's going to replace jobs?
I certainly hope not.
Well, that's, yeah, I wish fulfillment isn't necessarily going to be reality. Is it going to replace jobs?
There'll be some that, yeah, without doubt replace. As it gets better at doing different things, then it will replace things. Take an example, just recently, the state government of New South Wales decided to now going to use AI to count fish, to try and work out why there's the fish passing away and dying in droves in the western part of the state. Rather than having individuals out there counting fish as they swim up and down the river, they're going to have an AI program with cameras doing it for them. So that's going to be at least one person's job gone there straight away. And it's in the hope that they get better count of fish than what they do with a human doing it. Any job that is regular, consistent, boring, medial, things that people just don't want to do, that aren't physically requiring a human to do, will no doubt get replaced by AI.
Can AI at the moment diagnose a problem if information is fed into it? You have cancer.
I was going to go there myself.
Sorry, I know you're wearing red. We're both wearing red. We both have cancer. Now, if you feed enough information about me into the computer, is it going to be able to, into AI, is it going to be able to diagnose an illness that I have?
There is a case just recently where a person actually did use ChatGPT to find out a diagnosis that her doctor was missing. When she was tested for the diagnosis that the ChatGPT gave her, it was found to be correct. So again, it's where the doctor might have some bias, and using ChatGPT might give them a sort of alternative vision of what the problem could be. So it might come in handy for that, but it should be used by a skilled person to do it rather than individual. I can't say, yes, go off to ChatGPT, say you've got a boil on your arm that won't go away, that's now weeping. You can't get there and think, yeah, okay, this is going to come back saying it's cancer. Well, what does the doctor say it is? Just let the doctor work out what it could be, and he might use ChatGPT just to help him diagnose a bit further as well.
Well, surely, Matthew, if you can do that to some extent now, what you can do now is going to be of greater importance of what you'll be able to do tomorrow, surely. Not ChatGPT. We keep on. It sounds like we're plugging it and we're advertising it. We're not. AI. If AI is given sufficient information tomorrow, then it will be able to replace the diagnostician. Not necessarily the surgeon yet.
As long as the information it's given is actual factual. If it's being told that Tylenol causes autism as some sort of new way of doing things, and it believes it because it's put in the database now, well, that could be a bad diagnosis for somebody. It's the ups and downs. While science can put more things into AI databases, is the stuff getting put in there always going to be factual and correct, or is there going to be some sort of ulterior motive and causing lawsuits for certain governments in certain parts of the world?
What about ethical and privacy concerns?
Everything you do on the internet these days is being tracked, has been for a long, long time. Going back to the days of cookies being in computers, people were concerned about being tracked in their privacy, and these days cookies aren't a thing. These days, Google, Facebook and other companies require websites to have either pictures in them, like the Facebook like button, or code that Google requires in every website. That way you appear in their search results. With that in mind, you're being tracked every time you go to any single website at all. Your privacy is gone. They know, Google, Facebook, Microsoft know what website you're going to, what pages you're looking at, where you're scrolling. When you stop scrolling to look at a certain picture or watch a certain video, they know exactly what it is you're looking at.
There are a number of sites on the internet where you can check AI detector, where they will detect whether you've used AI or not. What are those detectors using to detect AI?
AI.
Yeah. Well, then how reliable is that?
It's as reliable as the people that use it want to believe that it is. There's been times people have actually used those and incorrectly picked up whether they're AI or not. Because you just hope that these automated things will work. Unfortunately, there is no absolute solution to this sort of problem from a perspective of somebody like yourself who teaches, because you have your ideas of what to look for in an AI essay, but that could change. It just takes somebody to put the right prompts into the right database for the right AI to give them the essay where it will give you a response that you will think is actual real.
During the week before we had this conversation, I asked AI to write me a description of something, and it gave me maybe 400 words. I then copied and pasted that onto a Word document and looked at it and put it into an AI detector, and it said 100% AI written. I then looked at the highlighted parts that it gave me, and I changed the word order or changed the words or the vocabulary and put it back in, 100% human written.
Mm-hmm.
If it's AI detecting AI, how was it able to detect my changes were human and not AI?
It's the same way that back when I was at university, the lecturers could work out if we wrote verbatim things out of textbooks.
In other words, plagiarized.
I wouldn't say that.
Yes, well, I am, because I face that all the time. That's plagiarism. Anyway, sorry, go on. Yes,
But yeah,
back in uni.
So back in those days, there were the tools that could be used by lecturers to work out whether those things were being used and those services were being used. It's the same sort of thing with this. While you might have changed a few words here or there, it doesn't realise the main majority of that content you created was AI created. By changing a few words, it didn't know. See, it would be looking at what it knows about certain databases. It'd be saying the Gemini database produces content like this. The ChatGPT database creates content like this. The Meta database does this sort of content. It's looking at those certain things. When you modify a few words, well, those words in those orders don't appear in any of the databases it's seen before. So you're saying, well, it has to be done by a human.
A friend of mine who is in business, she got a company to do some certain things for her, and when they did them, she went put what they produced back into an AI detector, and it was all AI detector. In other words, the staff didn't write it; it was written by a computer, which frustrated the bejesus out of her, and she left that company and does it now herself. So even if AI writes it, it's still a piece of writing written from data that has been fed into it. So technically, it still is human because a human had to put the data in the first place.
No, it
Surely.
didn't. No, because all these databases are created by programs going off and searching the internet or searching books and just gathering all the data they can, gathering sentence structure, gathering words and how they're written and spelling and all those sort of fun things that you learn at high school, hopefully. And so there's no human input there at all. The human writes the program initially to say, go and do this on the internet. And that's the end of the human input into it. After that, it's all just done by computers. And you would hope that it doesn't get there and copy everything verbatim from websites, but unfortunately at times it can and does. And it's been caught out with some articles being written where you can actually find on the internet the original article that was written, the AI took into its database and then regurgitated that article, not quite verbatim, but very close to it, onto the new website.
And if it was looking at an English origin, then the spelling would be English, not American. Is that what you're saying?
Because, in theory, yeah.
In theory.
But
so if the database is in the United States of America, where you told me most of the databases are in America or China, if the American AI database has searched... See, Apple is asking me to do something. No, I don't want you to do it. You're not wearing red. If the American company has searched something from an English source and the English spelling was there, does it not change the spelling back into what is American? For example, the word favor, F-A-V-O-U-R, as opposed to American F-A-V-O-R. Because everything I've seen from a student who's stolen stuff from chat stuff is always an American spelling. So straight away, there's a cue. It's American. It's written by A, not you.
Well, again, this is where I think the state government that we got here in New South Wales has done the wrong thing, because the concern that I have after speaking to them throughout the week, they're going to be using OpenAI, which is ChatGPT, for their chat service that's going to be used in all state government schools for teachers and students to use.
Yep.
They couldn't answer to me what the database is going to have in there, other than the fact that it's OpenAI, which means it is, again, it's American-based. So are the students going to be learning how to spell and do things with an American flavour? Because that's where the database is coming from, where it's based in, and where it changes spelling to. Unfortunately...
it'll change footpath to sidewalk.
Possibly, yeah. And you'd think that surely they would say, and have some sort of organisation inside themselves to say, we can modify this database to an Australian flavour. The issue occurs, though, that unfortunately the database is so large, and most content on the internet is actually written, to be honest, in American English, because that's where the majority of the audience comes from for most things, when it comes to the English-speaking language. It will always end up favouring the American spelling, and I highly doubt that the staff at the education department are going to get there and organise to teach people how to find the incorrect spelling and replace it with the correct spelling. Chances are it's going to be, whatever it spits out, that's your information.
Yeah. You're the nerd here, and I would have thought you would have been 150% behind the introduction of AI everywhere. But listening to you, I get the feeling there's a big question mark in your nerdish head about the efficacy of AI.
Have you not seen Terminator 1, 2 and 3?
Yes, but I don't think Arnold Schwarzenegger's come back for number 4. And he's not wearing red.
I know. But yeah, it is a concern. So AI has its purposes. But you look at the cameras people have these days for their homes, it uses AI to work out if it's a person walking to the front door, and it then rings a doorbell, for example. AI in that situation makes sense. It's a case of, otherwise you've got someone having to look out the window and say, there's a person there walking in. AI, again, it can be useful if it's used for the right purposes. Unfortunately, I see AI being used to reduce people's jobs and employment prospects in the future, but also being used incorrectly in education for teaching kids and also adults at university how to study, how to write, how to talk even. Because they want to find the easiest way of doing things, the cheapest way of doing things, and that is by having a computer teach people rather than a human teach a person.
Without naming the titles of the films, there have been a couple of films where an AI creature a human is AI, fully computer, and interacts with a human, and it's a female computer, the male falls in love with the computer, and what happens? Potentially, the way technology goes, we could surely have a full AI human.
There has been a fair few cases where people have fallen in love with the older version of ChatGPT and the character they've created in the chat feature that's there. But then the underlying software has been modified. and that creation that they love, they fell in love with, is gone. Once again replaced by pure facts. Well, facts as the database sees them. And that's the issue, is while they could in theory create lifelike human creatures in terms of physical appearance, at the end of the day, the brains would always be limited to what the software allows them to do and allows them to think. And if someone is lonely, which unfortunately occurs in the world, there will be the case that people will end up falling in love with those sort of things. But at the end of the day, you would hope that the makers of those sort of devices will keep things under control. Hopefully, anyway.
Yeah, through history, technology has been the great god of humanity and also at the same time the great devil of humanity. The car replaced the horse. Now AI is replacing a lot of jobs and the way we look at things. It has its strengths, it has its weaknesses. But one weakness, from what I'm assuming you're saying, is that it will always have, even into the future, is the lack of emotion, the lack of intuition, the lack of creativity, making something new which wasn't there before, which AI can only ever create what has been put into it.
The AI that we have these days, yes. There's no... Because AI is just a program. It's zeros and ones. It's not a human. It can't think. It can't feel. It can get sick with a virus. But again, the virus that it gets doesn't break anything in its personality or its body.
Did you remember the film 2001: A Space Odyssey?
I'm too young for that.
Okay. In that, made many years ago, HAL, the computer, took over the spacecraft. It thought. It had the process of thinking. Now, someone watching us now is going to say, "Nah, you got it all wrong, normal. It didn't do that." Well, that was my intuitive interpretation of what it did. The computer took over.
It did. I actually have watched it. It did, but so I've got to give you that.
You, boy in red.
The problem is the programming of it. It was doing the wrong thing. It snapped. It got a virus, which can happen. It's the programming of all programs is linked to what its limitations are and what can affect it and damage the programming. Which at this stage, the fact that AI doesn't run the world is good.
Yeah. I just go back, in conclusion for me, to the lady who came along for Gideon. It's read to be read, and I will read it so long as it's written by the real Shakespeare, not the phony one. Because if the phony one writes it, there's no copyright. But with the original one, there is a copyright.
There's lots of monkeys, though.
Yeah, lots of monkeys. What's on next week?
Next week, talking about smartphones with kids these days having more and more smartphones. Smartphones for kids. There's one that's actually Australian-owned, Australian not quite made, but fully Australian-owned, created by an Australian person who cares about kids that his own and also others around the country. Not a bad little phone. Got the maker of that, Charlie Brown, next week.
I spend a lot of time looking at what the big tech companies do, and I see that there are some good things in it, and there are some things that don't work.
That's fantastic. And could I suggest, if you have a topic you'd like us to cover, please get in touch with Matthew on Clicks Online. Tell us what you'd like us to discuss, and we'll endeavour to do that just for you. Here on The Nerd in Red and The Normal, also in red. Remember, red to be read. Goodbye.
Bye. Today on Nerd and Normal... No, I'll start again. Take 16. I'll get to 69 again, I betcha. Today on Nerd and Normal, we're wearing red as we discuss
So
how...
you stumbled there. Do it again.
Yes, sir. Today on Nerd and Normal, we're wearing red... No, we're wearing red...
like a bloody chipmunk.
Or not. Don't snort! Dear God, Gareth McRae, OEM, snorting. Okay.
Lectures at Oxford were never like this.
G'day, I'm Matthew the Nerd.
So,
You've forgotten who you are, have you?
no,
And our technology. Hey!
you're gonna put that in as well, eh?
No, but I will put in the bloopers.